Hi, this is Annika Mangan. I am in Sedona, Arizona. As you can see in the background, this is Cathedral Rock. And I'm thinking about connection today because it actually was much harder to get here and to connect to this place than I expected. Um, you have to take a shuttle these days, like the parking lots are closed, you can't actually drive here anymore, and you can probably see a steady stream of tourists walking by behind me. So, this kind of idea I had of having some solitude in nature, that is not happening. And being on the shuttle and being constantly surrounded by groups of tourists while I'm traveling by myself has really put into contrast for me this concept of connection and how um, I'm here to connect with myself and with the land, and yet the steady stream of conversation um, is just so fascinating and dissonant for me. Like hearing people on the shuttle bus and then on the trail just constantly talking and talking about things that have absolutely nothing to do with being here. You know, some person back home, some conversation they've had, some TV show they've watched, and it's like and yet it feels like connection, like that deeper connection isn't really happening. It's like the idea that like more is better, like the more we talk the more we connect. um and i'm I am such a fan of connecting in silence. I find it difficult to ask for that with another person. I wish it was easier for me to do that, because those times when I've been able to do that and just be present with another person have been absolutely incredible. I've done some practices where I was in a group setting and we would just put one person in the center and just pay attention to that person without saying or doing anything. And it was just attention and presence. Um, and in that, doing nothing but doing nothing together without distracting. So this is not the same as like sitting on the couch and doing nothing by watching Netflix or smoking weed or thumbing through magazines or scrolling on the phone. That's not what I'm talking about, because that's still doing something. Um, but like doing nothing other than focusing on another person and paying attention to their existence and their presence. Um, I think we many like spiritual people, at least people who are into spirituality, into meditation, into prayer, are familiar with doing that, like with land. Like we'll sit and just be present with a tree or a rock or a river, or God. um, but we rarely ever do that with one another, with another human being, and it feels really really scary at first, to just pay attention. It immediately brings up the sense of like, oh, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? Like how? And actually, my first reaction the first time I did that was to really speed up and try to fill that silence and that nothingness. But I personally believe that like God or spirit lives in that which we call nothing, which is not really nothing. But the majority of like the atom is nothing really. The majority of space is nothing. The space in between those things that we call matter, like even the space between electrons and what, I don't even know what those parts are called. The parts of the atom. I should really know this, but I don't. But like that empty orbit in the parts of the atom, all of that emptiness, all of that space, and then all of that emptiness out in space between planets and between solar systems, I believe that is God. That is spirit. That is presence and consciousness and love. And so that means it's not just God is not just all around or infused through everything, but is the majority of what is. And matter really is more of a shaping, of a containment, or a shaping of that substance that is spirit, or that is God, that is the but that it permeates everything, because that's what the majority of the stuff that makes an atom is, the nothing. And I find that connecting with another person by really just spending time paying attention to the space between me and the other person. So, not necessarily the physical space, but just to pay attention where I'm currently at and where the other person is currently at, and what that distance, that emotional distance, that spiritual distance between us is, by just bringing my attention to that space and having the other person bring their attention to that space. It creates a connection that far, far transcends the blah 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 blah. Oh, have you seen this TV show? Oh my gosh, blah blah blah. Oh, wait, where are we gonna go next? Where are we gonna go for lunch? You know, that it just it creates a, like, a connection that, that other connecting where we tell stories, or if I'm, another common one is to, like, oh, that one time I went to this place, and kind of sharing things we've done in our lives to bring some context to the story of who we are. I mean, there's value to all of that, but it feels like we're connecting, like here. There's like this tiny bit of self that's connecting, and sometimes disconnecting, and not, and just kind of ships passing in the night, and not really connecting with that tiny part of the other person. But when I allow myself to just be present and notice the space that's between me and the other person, I find myself align. I find all the parts of myself come into alignment and want to connect with that other person with all of their parts. So it becomes like this whole way of connecting, by basically, it's sort of like the inner, like, rather than trying to directly connect, like, person to person, mind to mind, ego to ego, story to story, it's like connecting to spirit. And in this case, the spirit that is the space between me and the person. And that, I kind of lack the words. There's an aliveness in that. It really feels like falling in love the entire time. Like, the entire time of being connected like that just feels like that first touch of a brand new lover, that excitement of electricity tingling throughout the whole body, of touching that person that, you've been attracted to for so long, and now you get to be with each other. And we know this when we fall in love. There's the talky bit on a first date, maybe, oh my gosh, we have so much in common. But then there's that, like, that really precious first connection, um, where the talking stops and it's clear that we want to be with each other, and then we just are with each other. And even without touch, it can be so electrifyingly beautiful and energizing and enlivening to be with the other person. And we know this from, like, romantic falling in love, but that is possible with everyone, as long as we allow for the space between us to be what it authentically is, rather than trying to make ourselves get closer by trying to find some shared interest or some point of commonality, but just allowing the difference to be whatever the difference is, and bringing real presence and attention to the space between. And that connection, it's just out of this world. So as I'm kind of listening to all of this, trying to connect, it feels so forced. I'm really um, just feeling into that experience of connecting by surrendering, really surrendering, bringing attention and surrendering to the space between one another. Yeah, that's what's on my mind. And Now I'm gonna go join the chattering masses, go hike up to Cathedral Rock in Sedona, and I'm looking forward to sharing again and connecting online another time.